Hello and welcome back to Skypothesis. Devin here.
Tyler here.
And we are super excited to be talking about this Bethesda Starfield showcase, and we're super excited to see what you guys think as well. First off, just a couple of business items for the channel. Thank you guys so much for being patient as we prepare our next launch of build videos and things like that. We know we've been kind of radio silence for a while, but we have some really exciting things in store coming pretty soon, so be on a lookout for those.
Yes, as soon as next month, July, we will have more videos to share, so thank you so much for supporting us.
Yep. All right. So, yeah, we wanted to just record a quick Skypodcast just to talk a little bit about this showcase and our thoughts on it. And one of the first things being, if you watched one of our previous Skypodcasts about our wish list for Starfield, we wanted to start off by kind of checking off those boxes.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that it's been a full year, but a year ago we filmed our reaction to the first trailer, and we had 3 items that we hoped would be in the game, and we are very happy to say, I think that we're going to get those 3 things.
Yep, and those things, if you don't want to go all the way back and watch that video again, we will list them again. The first one is blank canvas characters, meaning like Oblivion or New Vegas or Skyrim type characters versus Fallout 4 characters.
Yeah, Fallout 4 had a voiced protagonist, which was fine for that game, but I do think RPGs are better without that, so that you can imagine your own character. And they did confirm on Twitter, no voiced character, which is awesome.
Yep, absolutely. So we're super excited for that. That's number 1 off of our wish list, already done. Number 2, we had as consequences in quests. And from what Todd said, it sounds like there will be.
Yeah, we still have so many questions, but it looks like there are factions. It looks like... and it looks like there's allegiances and possibly even reputation systems. So we have hope that this one will be fulfilled as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And then number 3 is meaningful interaction with the world, which is probably the haziest of the 3, but from the looks of things and from what we've come to understand in that very brief 15-minute showcase, it looks like we will have meaningful interaction with the world. So we are so excited about that.
Yeah, and we have a lot of thoughts on the world spaces coming soon. But yeah, we are, I guess to summarize our reaction, we are very excited for the game. We are more excited for the game now than we were before the showcase, but we think the showcase was not nearly enough.
Yeah, absolutely. We think back to the Fallout 4 showcase, which was very long, very in-depth. This was a very short 15-minute video that didn't quite explore everything that we were hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, it gave us a little tiny glimpse. It hinted at the deeper RPG elements that are coming. It showed off these massive landscapes, and it put a very heavy emphasis on customization, which we love. We love creating our own things, and it looks like that's going to be a big focus for this game, customizing both your character, your story, your settlements, and your ships. Going to be super cool. But we did not get enough in this showcase. So
yeah, 100% agreed. They really hyped it up, but then just showed us some random clips and didn't explain a ton. But we're thinking maybe they are purposefully keeping it a mystery, which would be totally fine if spring 2023 rolls around and we still have kind of a mystery on our hands, but we go in and there's so much incredible stuff that we weren't expecting. Maybe that's a really good thing.
Yeah, and so our first impression as we were watching it was that I don't know if this isn't necessarily the game's fault, but maybe for the showcase, I don't think that they necessarily started with their best foot forward by landing on that moon, and your first experience with the game was this barren world, and you step out and you see this tree root and then mine some minerals. I don't know, I don't really have any criticisms with the game itself. I just think it was odd that that's what they showed first, you know?
Yeah, totally.
There's going to be so much cool stuff in this game, and they started with this tree root and rocks. So I don't know.
Totally. Later on in the video, they showed tropical planets, Mars-looking planets, crystal planets and stuff,
Yeah.
which all look amazing. Why didn't they show that first?
Yeah.
That's our question.
Just kind of a little bit of a head scratcher. I don't think it'll affect the game at all, but I don't know, compared to the step-out moments of games past, I hope there will be more.
Totally.
And then one other thing, the first thing we noticed too, and this is really the biggest concern that we have, is the frame rate. It looked a little jittery, and I don't know if that was just the streaming of the video, but it especially when action revved up, it looked like it didn't really ever pass 30 frames per second, which is a concern, but they do need to get it running smoothly on the Xbox consoles. But as both Xbox and PC player, I hope that it's optimized for both so that we can get higher frame rates.
Yeah, totally. One of the biggest issues with the Skyrim Anniversary Edition was frame rates, specifically on kill cams, and that's never something that we've ever seen in a Bethesda game before, so we're really hoping that this isn't a turn for the worse in their engines, but we still have high hopes, so that's something that we're excited for.
Well, it is delayed. Hopefully they use this time to improve it under the hood and optimize it.
Totally. And then another thing that we're looking at is Todd has been talking about massive engine improvements and how this was the biggest leap since Oblivion. And looking at it, I mean, it looks good, but it also just kind of looks like Fallout 4, like very bright reflective surfaces. Landscape design is very excellent. It's definitely a huge step up, but we're kind of assuming that there are a lot of improvements made under the hood to scale up a realistic looking environment into massive sizes. That's what we're kind of assuming.
Yeah, and like at first glance, it looked exactly like Fallout 4, just with some new stuff. Like they just threw in these new models and characters in the Fallout 4 engine. But the more I rewatched it and looked into it, I think you're right. I think that the under the hood improvements were to scale up the size of the game and make this believable land. So I think in the past, if you look at a game like Skyrim, the landscape is handcrafted and it's built on a forced perspective. And that, I think, they're doing away with. They want a world that's believable in size and scope without the forced perspective. And so that is, I assume, the big leap forward that they're talking about. Because now they don't just have one world, they have many worlds, and I'm assuming these are going to be huge maps, and the landscape looks so much more realistic. That's got to be the biggest improvement.
So yeah, definitely. And that's something that I've always kind of struggled with. I understand why people get so obsessed with graphics and graphical improvements and photorealism. I totally understand it. There's something to playing a Crysis or something like, maybe that just dated me. But
will it run Crysis? That was the question from back in the day.
Yeah, oh my goodness. But to me at least, and we've kind of talked about this together, we feel like there really is a threshold with graphics. And once you pass it, you really do get diminishing returns for improvements. And like people really, us at least, don't really care too much about photorealistic graphical improvements. We just care if the game is fun.
Yeah, I totally agree. And good graphics are nice when you have them, but if the game doesn't feel great to play, then they don't matter. And fortunately, Fallout 4 felt amazing to play. I thought the gunplay was incredible in Fallout 4. I still love sitting down and playing that game. I think it feels great. And that's another thing that has kind of a threshold, is the mechanics, and I think they reached a great point in Fallout 4, both graphically and in gunplay. Yeah, things can for sure be improved, but if Starfield feels as good as Fallout 4 felt to play, then I'm going to be very happy, because I thought it was a good first-person shooter.
Yeah, me too. I remember feeling actually blown away when I first played Fallout 4, because the previous Fallout experience that I had, Fallout 3 in New Vegas, the gunplay left a lot to be desired for me personally. And then I went into 4 and I was like, oh, this feels like BioShock. This feels like other similar feeling FPSs. So that's something we're excited for.
Yeah, and these are RPGs first, shooters second.
Totally.
Role playing is a bigger focus than shooting, but man, I think that threshold of believability with Fallout 4 is sufficient. And I mean, they didn't really do many favors with the gunplay footage at the beginning of that clip. It looked very generic. I don't know. They weren't really showing off any movement or any super interesting weapons. It just looked like a very standard first-person shooter, very similar to Fallout 4. But they didn't show off any stealth mechanics, any cool possible tech that we're going to see based on the skill trees. And so we just got a tiny, tiny little snapshot into super generic ballistic weapon shooter gameplay. And I don't know, I feel like there's a lot more up their sleeve. And that just kind of goes back to why did they put that as the first clip?
Totally.
It wasn't that impressive of a gameplay clip. From like a technical standpoint, when you're showing off the game to the world. For us, as fans of these kind of games, we're thrilled. But I don't know. I just think they could have possibly done better or found a better clip to show off for that opening section.
Yeah, totally. So we're really excited for future clips and other things that are coming. So that's exciting. What we have seen, though, is very, very exciting, and we are very hyped for it. And we want to kind of segue away from the gameplay that we've seen, because there's probably so much more that we haven't seen yet, into what we have seen with the character design. And not just the character designer, not just that part, because, I mean, that's important, but the really cool things that we noticed were the different traits and attributes. There was one that said, if you were a kid, there was one called Kid Stuff,
Yep.
where you still have parents who you can go and visit, but they take 10% of your income. That's awesome. I can already see a build going around that. Those are the elements that we are looking for, that we feel we will be able to make builds to the caliber of our Skyrim builds in Starfield. That's what we're so excited for.
We're already writing characters for this.
We already have our characters planned out for our first playthrough.
We already have our first ones. I'm already thinking about options. I want to make, speaking of dating ourselves, I want to make the Material Defender from Descent from back in 1995. I love Descent. I love that whole series. I thought Material Defender was so cool.
Oh boy.
I want to make Material Defender in Starfield.
And I'm excited to see it.
Wow, I really dated myself there. But
Yeah.
my mind is just going crazy with build ideas, and we're just excited.
So we're really looking forward to that. And I do think that, again, with the shipbuilding and being able to customize things like that, that it will just open up a world of opportunities for builds, which is great.
I do hope that they have a lot more up their sleeve for armor options than what they showed off in the vid.
Mm-hmm.
They did show, there's a clip where the character is cycling between outfits, and they have like a cowboy hat and a vest and different things. Those are cool. But the space outfits all look kind of the same. Mm-hmm. And so we really like giving our characters unique aesthetics.
As you all know.
We like when your character pops and when your character stands out from the crowd around them in the game. And that, honestly, that was actually one of my big complaints with Outer Worlds, is all of the gear you can wear just blends in with the world around it. All the NPCs look like you. No matter what you do, they all look like you. Mm-hmm. And the world, the terrain, it all just kind of blends in. It was really hard to make my character stand out. And so I hope that we can do that in Starfield.
Totally. And we're just hoping that we can travel to that tropical planet or that crystal planet and get a sweet set of crystal armor or something like that. I don't know. If we can't do that, I will be quite disappointed. But I don't want to get my hopes down, I guess. I'm not sure if that's even an expression. Yet I see a lot of naysayers and a lot of people just kind of hating on the game already for things like that. And if it comes out and we don't have stuff like that, that's one thing. But as of right now, I still have very high hopes.
Yeah, and I think naysayers for this game, I wonder how many of them have really properly thought out what their expectations for this game are. You know?
Yeah.
What are you expecting from this game realistically, based on what they can do with their engines and what they are doing with all these different worlds is super impressive. That's those engine improvements coming in. And going back, this game, they confirmed, will have 150,000 lines of dialogue, and your character isn't voiced.
Yay!
Yeah, Fallout 4 had 110,000 lines of dialogue, and your character was voiced, counting your character's voice,
which would have been probably half of them.
Yeah, because your character's always talking.
Yep.
So that's half. This game is going to be massive, and I understand. I think it's fine and healthy to have criticisms for the game, but man, really think about what your expectations realistically are, because they're one-upping pretty much everything they've ever done by the looks of it.
Totally.
So, but we did only see 15 minutes. So we need to see more.
We're excited for the future, for sure.
Yep.
And then I guess we just have a couple more things that kind of struck our fancy, I guess, in this video. And the main one, Tyler mentioned it earlier, but building spaceships, oh my goodness.
Oh.
So excited for that.
Yes.
That's going to be so cool. We're going to be able to customize all sorts of things, build your dream spaceship, and then with modding, there are going to be X-Wings in the game within the first week and TIE fighters and all that good stuff.
Yes.
So if you're into that kind of thing, you should get excited.
I hope that we can make smaller ships that are faster, that have snappier controls, so that we can like do dogfights in space. That would be so fun. Going back to that Material Defender roleplay, I would totally do that. It looks fun.
Oh, yep. Yeah.
Oh, and the customization. One final aspect of the game: building bases. Okay, Fallout 4 is my most played game, and it's largely because of the settlement building system. I love those kind of things. And the funny thing is, I'm not a huge player of pure sandbox games, since there's nothing else to do in them. But Fallout 4 allowed you to base build in a connected world with meaningful quests and factions and everything, and it integrated. And it was just so much more meaningful, so I'm super excited to see more of this. So, yeah, that's just something that I'm personally super excited for.
Totally. Me too. And yeah, so those are our thoughts on the Starfield showcase from our point of view as diehard role players and build creators. We are so excited to make build videos for this game when it comes out. But just to recap, what are we looking for in Starfield? We're going back to those 3 things from our video last year. Those blank canvas characters, consequences and quests, meaningful interaction in the world, and it looks like we are going to get these things.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we like telling our own stories. And like in Fallout 4, most of my time playing is not spent integrated with the quests in the game. It's the downtime, it's the building. And we love that kind of stuff. It isn't just the gameplay that's sandboxy, it's the narrative. You can tell your own story in these sort of games, and that's what we're super excited for. Multiple planets to explore, different factions and cities. And I don't know, we're just really excited.
Absolutely. And something that's very, very exciting is that Todd seems to agree with us, and that he mentioned multiple times that the game isn't complete until we tell our own stories. So that's where we're going to leave you guys off here today. Thank you so much for tuning into this Skypodcast, and we're really excited for these next stages of our channel, of these RPG games in general, and for Starfield next year.
Yeah, barring any more delays, by this time next year, we should be posting character builds for this game.
Yes, it'll be great.
We are excited. Thank you for subscribing. Again, we have more stuff coming in July. Stay tuned. Thanks for being patient, and we hope you enjoy what we have coming.
Yep, see you next time right here on Skypothesis.